It's in the matter of the protection regarding Connie Morgan and Calvin Morgan. And Miss Connie Morgan, you're the petitioner in this matter? And you're representing yourself in this matter?
Yes, Your Honor.
You know you have the right to hire an attorney if you want to.
Yes.
And you're wanting to proceed pro se, that is representing yourself.
Yes.
Okay. And you're Mr. Calvin Morgan?
Yes, sir. Yes, Your Honor.
And Mr. Morgan, you're representing yourself here today.
Yes.
And you know you have the right to hire an attorney if you wish. I'm sorry, you have to answer out loud to make a record.
Yes, Your Honor. Sorry.
Okay. And is it your desire to proceed representing yourself here this morning?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And Mr. Morgan, have you had a chance to review the petition that was filed in this matter by Connie Morgan?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, you have a right to have a hearing on that petition, or you can stipulate to the protection order, which would be in place for 1 year. What is your desire?
I just wanted to state my case on what was said in the order.
Okay, you'll have to repeat that. I didn't catch all of that.
I wanted to state my case upon what is stated in this order.
Okay, so you're opposed to the protection order.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Connie Morgan, you'll present your case. And then Mr. Calvin Morgan will have a chance to question you. And then if he chooses to put on evidence, you'll have a chance to question him, okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so Connie Morgan, if you'll raise your right hand, please. You solemnly swear and or affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, subject to the penalties for perjury in the state of Kansas. I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. Okay. Okay, go ahead and explain to me why you believe you need a protection order.
For this past year, Calvin has I would call it a severe anger problem and high anxiety. And I have walked on eggshells for almost a year because I do not know what's going to anger him and cause him to get very verbal and mean. I have talked extensively with options and with my therapist. And there has been times, a lot of times, where Calvin does not take responsibility for his actions. And I acknowledge when I have done something wrong to him and have asked his forgiveness. There is times he just says, well, I don't remember. And a lot of times it's been where he's blamed me, that I'm the one that started it. I'm the one that caused it. Your Honor, I love my husband, but I am not going to live in fear.
Okay, you'll have to stop. This is becoming very jarbled and I'm not hearing you clearly.
Okay.
Okay,
All right. I'll talk. Is that better?
you'll need to speak slowly. And if you point the microphone just under your chin instead of right directly into it, it works a little better. Okay, try again.
This past year, my marriage has had a lot of not harmony. Calvin has a a severe anger issue and high anxiety. And we've talked about it many times. I have walked on eggshells quite often for fear of making him upset. Because when he gets angry, he gets up in your face, in my face, and I told him I'm scared of him. And because I don't know what he's going to do. I've seen his anger toward his animals, and that's alarming to me because I don't know if one day he's going to get so angry and hit me. I am in counseling. I talk extensively with my therapist and options, and everything he always says is my fault. And there have been times I feel like I'm going crazy because he did not that he said anything. And I love him. I just don't want to live in fear. And I've asked how to get help. And we called family counseling, and we heard back from one, and she was too full, but we have yet to hear from the other two. But I went to counseling to help me to make sure it isn't all my fault. And he never apologizes. And I know I've been a good wife. I know I have. There's been a lot of gaslighting, and that's not what marriage is. Marriage is love and peace. Yes, there should be problems, but to lose your temper, it's tough. It's happened over and over and over. And
Miss Morgan, has he ever physically struck you?
No.
Has he ever threatened you?
Yes, it's been a lot of verbal abuse, and yes, on January 20th.
Tell me about the threats that have been made.
He threatens divorce quite often. But the worst happened on January 20th. When my dog ran off. And she came back and he grabbed her and was yanking her around, and I said, stop. And he comes up in my face and he goes, if I'm taking care of something, you need to stay out of it, or it's not going to end very well. And I immediately went in and called options. Because
And did you take that as a threat towards your personal safety?
yes.
Any other times you've been threatened by the defendant, Mr. Calvin Morgan? You'll have to repeat that. That didn't come across.
Like I said, he has threatened divorce many times. And I've always had to be the one. I apologize for whatever I did, but he gets very angry with me. He says I ask too many questions. his idea of settling is to go into his room and then he'll come out. And we'll talk about it, communications. And it always ends up being, well, remember, you did this. I can't remember sometimes my cell phone to get out of the house. Calvin always said two of us to get out the door. But I remember quite well conversations, threats, I think it was doing verbatim. And it's not my fault. There's been a whole lot of emotional abuse. And everything goes on when he's ready to talk about something. It's very alarming when in November he got so angry because I wanted to talk this out and he was watching SpaceX. He thought SpaceX was more important than our marriage. And he got in my face and he goes, fuck you, fuck you. And he took off. I didn't deserve that. I was married once before your honor, and I'm proud of the fights my ex-husband and I got into because I could call him every day. I told him the book he was an alcoholic. But I have never, ever called Calvin any names because you learn from your past experiences. And I never was verbally abusive in the way that he was, or the way he is towards me. And I just, I can't take that anymore. And the reason I went for boredom was it was anxiety, and he was highly anxious. I guess I would say he was trying to set up some health insurance because we were living in Arkansas. And my dog loves him, and he got frustrated with her, and he threw the remote at her. And I just think, this can be one of those times he hits me. I don't want to look like that. This marriage is, I believe, was started as a gift from God. And I think it could be much better if Calvin would get some counseling too, not just me. I guess he called the wedding off once. We were supposed to get married December 2nd of 23. And he had one of his angry things over one of my children. And that was humiliating. And at that time, I did not know he had that much anxiety and anger. And it's just, we actually went 21 days up until the 20th of January, when finally there wasn't any problems or anything to set it off. And Calvin's way of handling everything is, well, that's the past. That was yesterday. and I don't feel like we really get to, resolve it. Anything that has, issues that has come up, he just kind of wants to brush it in the past, and it's not how it works.
Anything else, Miss Morgan?
No.
Okay, Mr. Morgan, you have the right to cross-examine her. You can ask her questions about her testimony, okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
On the dog incident,
Okay, you're gonna have to put the microphone in front of you so I can hear you.
on the dog incident, when I was correcting the dog, when I said that statement that you said, and it wasn't directed at you, it was directed at the dog, right?
And I give the blood.
Okay, ma'am, you're gonna have to speak into the microphone.
You up into my face. I got a in my face and said not to step in.
The dog is a black lab, and it goes crazy when it sees a squirrel or somebody. And I was trying to get it under control. It's 65 pounds, and it jerks me around. The leash was long, and I didn't want you to get hurt by the dog during the run because it's hurt you before.
Hey, sir, I'm not understanding you, Lindsay. Are you with us, Lindsay?
I got it.
Can you scoot up here, sir? Maybe pull that chair up and your microphone and see if that's better. He wants to scoot up a little too and see if that can hear better.
And
Go ahead, Mr. Morgan. Okay, Lindsay?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yeah. I'm just gonna have to drive up there. So I will be there in about 45 minutes and we'll resume the hearing at that time.
You want me to try to put one in the other room and,
Well, I'm getting most of hers. I'm not getting him at all.
okay, let me see if I can connect him down at the end of the hall and see if that helps and separate the two and get out of maybe the big room and that'll help.
Yeah, if you can put them in two separate rooms that are not in the big courtroom, let's see if that works. Otherwise, I just need to drive up there.
Okay, give me just a moment.
Okay.
Sir, yeah, I'll take your microphone if you want to come with me real quick.
Okay, Mr. Calvin, if you'd speak to me a little bit, let's see if your acoustics is working better.
okay, Your Honor.
Okay, that's much better. And Miss Morgan,
Yes,
okay. Remember to speak slowly, okay?
hello.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Morgan. You can question her about her testimony.
On the correcting the dog, was any of my comments or threats directed at you?
You are up in my face. That to me is threatening.
When I explained it afterward, I explained that it was not against you. It was, I did not want you getting hurt by the dog.
After that happened, Calvin, you went to the garage. There was no explanation.
We both went to the garage to have a cigarette and sit down, and we discussed it in there. I'm not trying to threaten you in any form. I've never threatened you. It was always at the dog because the dog was out of control.
Calvin, this goes clear back. Your anger has not just been because we have a dog. It's been because of my children. The dog just kind of brought it to where it is today. But your anger has been even when nobody's involved.
Your Honor, may I describe this past year real quick?
Okay, Mr. Morgan, you'll have a chance to testify. Right now, you're questioning her about her testimony.
Okay,
If you don't have any more questions, then you can proceed on to your case. But if you have questions about her testimony, ask her the questions about her testimony.
okay. At this time, I would just like to go over my testimony.
You have no more questions for Ms. Morgan?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Morgan, do you have any other witnesses or any other evidence you want to put before the court?
No.
Okay. Mr. Calvin Morgan, if you'll raise your right hand, please. You solemnly swear and or affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, subject to the penalties for perjury in the state of Kansas.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, about 6 months prior to me and her getting married, I purchased a vehicle for a little over $8,000. And we were living in the same apartment complex. And so when we got together, I'm trying to get this straight. Her son was in need and she was trying to help him. But prior to us getting together, I asked her if she had any kids living at home. And she said no. And I said, I don't want no kids at home. So her son started calling and needing help, and she was trying to help him. And so I seen the predicament he was in. So to save us a bunch of trouble, I gave him my car to help him out. Because we talked about it, and it was cheaper on us to just have one insurance and one set of tags, and we only needed one vehicle. So I gave him a car, and because we wanted to start a new life. And that's the reason we moved to Arkansas. Once we got to Arkansas, we rented a house, and she had him come down, and me telling her no, I did not want him in our home with us. She brought him in. He created some chaos in the house, and between her and him, and I'm not for sure which one called the law on me, and I hadn't done anything. the arguments that we've got over is because of her son. And so she left with him. They both packed up and left. And then she always gives me like this $1,000 check. And she says, take this and go. And I said, no, because I'm trying to get our life straightened up, and where we both have the same envision of life. We want to live nice and simple. We found Mountain Home, Arkansas to live. So anyway, after she left with him, then a day or two later, she came back and we talked about it. We talked about how we want to proceed, you know, find a home and live a nice life. It wasn't long after she came back, then she got mad again, and where she stated about me watching SpaceX was we had talked that morning from 3 o'clock in the morning till about 10 o'clock, trying to discuss things between us. But I needed a break. And I always said, if we need a break, let's go take a break. Both of us calm down and let's discuss this. She didn't want me to take a break. She hung on the car and I left anyway to take that break. Well, it just so happened SpaceX was launching, so I watched it. I came back to talk to her and we discussed. I'm not for sure what led up to her finally leaving Arkansas, but she came back and she rented a house there in Plainville. We talked off and on, and she said if you would come back, then we would start our life again, because the house had the shop and the things that I could do. So I packed up everything. I broke our lease and came back to Kansas with everything. And we weren't there 2 months. And then she filed this order. My thing I've never threatened her. I've never laid a hand on her. Now, her, on the other hand, has consistently hit me with her fist in the arm, with her in the chest, the stomach, and she's hit me in the groin a few times. I asked her to stop hitting me because I'm not a punching bag, and I don't think it's right. And she acted like I offended her. I just don't like to be hit. I've always tried to sit down and discuss with her every time. The reason I go off into my room alone is to see what's important, our life, and then bring it and discuss it with her. I know there's a lot I'm leaving out, but I never wanted this divorce. Since she has filed and threw me out, I am no longer have anything. The insurance that she was talking about, me canceling Humana, Humana didn't cost me anything. and it had my drug program on it. Since I have canceled it, I no longer have insurance and I no longer have drug coverage. She filed to have me put on this other plan, which doesn't go in until May 1st. Now I'm having to pay full price for my prescriptions. And I have no Part D on my Medicare.
Mr. Morgan, a couple of things. One, this is not a divorce hearing. Okay,
Okay,
this is what's called protection from abuse.
yes,
Okay,
okay. I wasn't for sure what this
he's
was.
just asking for a restraining order to keep you away from her.
Okay.
But this is not a divorce proceeding.
Okay,
Okay, she testified that when you were correcting the dog and she intervened, you made a comment to her, if you interfere with how I handle things, it will not go well for you. That is the threat that she has testified to.
okay. I asked her, it wasn't that, I said, don't get in between me and the dog, because it won't end well for her, because the dog was going crazy, and I did not want her to get hurt. But this was never directed at her. I've never threatened her at any time in our marriage. It has always been at the dogs. I was telling the dogs, and I have a way of just, I overspeak to an animal when I shouldn't, because the dog doesn't know. I'm just trying to correct the dog, but she has been jerked off the porch by the dog numerous times and physically got hurt. And so I have taken the dog out to prevent her from getting hurt. Because if the dog sees a rabbit, it takes off like a bolt of lightning. And I try to intercede in that to keep her from getting hurt. I've never, ever wanted a divorce. I've never threatened you. There's been nothing.
Anything further, Mr. Calvin Morgan?
I'm sorry, Your Honor, I didn't hear.
Do you have anything further you want to testify about regarding this?
I want to ask Connie if you have hit me numerous times.
Calvin, I think you're leaving part out of that.
Hang on. Okay, again, Mr. Morgan, if you want to ask her questions, then you can call her as a witness and ask her questions. But this is the time that you're testifying, okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, do you have anything else you want to testify about?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, Miss Connie Morgan, do you have questions of Calvin about his testimony?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead.
All right, Calvin's basing his actions just on one dog, which we have now. We actually had rescued 2 dogs. The dog did have high anxiety, but what I saw with that dog was Calvin's anxiety. I seen him yank her and push her and hit her. We ended up giving the dog back because a lot of it was his anxiety. And yes, the dog was high strung, but I think it was aggravated by his anxiety. The reason the hitting that he's trying to say, Calvin loves to jump out and scare me.
Connie,
Yes.
once again, this is a time for you to ask him questions about his testimony.
Okay.
If you want to testify further, we can do that, but right now you're asking him questions about his testimony.
Calvin,
Okay?
the hitting that you said I was doing, was it just out of the clear blue?
We were watching a movie and you were, something scared you or whatever, and you would swing over and hit me with your hand. And then if I said something jokingly, it was, like maybe I walked up in the kitchen and you didn't hear me come in, you turned and hit me.
Calvin, when we were driving lots of times, did you not say things that were more or less to jokingly, and I'd say, oh, you nuthead, and yes, I swung to hit you. Never was it ever anything to hurt you. And you said, I guess I deserve a lot of this. I said, yeah, you do. You are leaving a bunch out. The reason I left in November was because you have a medical card for marijuana, right?
Yes.
Okay. Were you not sitting outside with two other people in the complex smoking your or vaping?
Yes.
They were both younger than you, correct?
I assume.
Yes. One was in her 30s and one was in her 40s.
I think they were a little older than that. but
No. I know their ages for facts.
They had medical cards too.
Yes. But you guys were sitting out there just smoking away. And I asked you, I said, if I would ask you to not sit out with the younger ones, would you stop? And you said no.
I said, probably not.
Did you not also smoke, I guess you call them doobies, with Eva's neighbor? That was not medical marijuana?
Yes.
Yes.
Which I
And-
have a license for.
Pardon?
Which I have a license for.
But at the time, you were smoking a regular doobie.
It's,
She took from her friend. She said, Calvin might like this. Did you partake?
yes, I did.
Okay. On our trip to Kentucky, did you not get angry because you thought I could give you directions better?
We were going through St. Louis, Missouri, and I could not keep track of the traffic and the direction because I've never been there. And I asked you to, because you were texting or doing something on the phone, I said, could you please help me? We discussed this and we found out that you cannot read a map.
Calvin,
No directions.
Calvin, we had one phone. Was it not put up on the dash?
I can't see that small phone.
Then how would you expect me to do the same thing?
You had it in your hand.
No,
I
you,
was driving.
you had it on the clip.
Okay, again, you're getting far afield of
Okay.
the
All I
only,
have to say is.
hang on. The only issue today is whether or not Calvin made a threat that you believe that he's threatening to do you harm.
Yes,
That's the only issue today, okay?
yes.
Okay, and then if that has occurred, what should we do about it? So if you'll keep your questions contained
Okay.
to that issue, okay?
After listening to this today and him leaving valuable information out, I do believe I have reason to want a permanent protective.
I have never threatened you personally with anything. I've never. I wanted our marriage to work. I wanted us to sit down and discuss it, but I've never threatened you at all with anything.
Never threatened a divorce?
With a divorce because of you bringing your son in, but I've never given you a personal threat of physical harm of any kind.
Through extensive research so that I know that I'm not going crazy. Calvin, you've been gaslighting me and not taking responsibility for your actions. You did not lose your health insurance.
Yes, I did.
He had it set up for you to have and pay $148 a month.
This is a thing about the threats to you. Have I ever threatened you personally or presented my fist or hand of any kind like I was going to hit you or do any physical bodily harm to you? Have I ever?
No, and I said there has not been physical abuse. There has been emotional, psychological, and verbal abuse. And that's what this restraining order is based on.
What verbal abuse or anything are you talking about?
Calling to fuck me, calling me a bitch, threatening that, like I said, a divorce. I have walked on eggs for a year to keep you from getting angry.
I have always asked to sit down and talk about this. Always.
And you never take any responsibility for anything.
I take full responsibility.
No, you do not. Have you ever apologized?
Always. Always apologize.
Your Honor,
Do you have any additional evidence you want to put forward, Miss Connie Morgan? Or do you want to make argument to the court?
I'm sorry, Your Honor, it's emotional, it's verbal.
I understand. Hang on. Do you want any more evidence put forward?
I have nothing because he's been very good about not doing anything in front of anybody.
Hang on. Mr. Calvin Morgan, do you have any more evidence you want to put in front of the court?
No, not at this time, Your Honor.
Okay. Connie, go ahead and make your closing argument to the court.
After listening today, how he's tried to turn this in his favor, I have also suspected him of being a narcissist. And I know this very well on a personal level, as my father was a narcissist. And I saw him verbally abusing my mom over and over. And he never hit her. That there was never no hitting. But there was a lot of times she would call me and she says, I think I'm going crazy. I said, why? She told me because Dad would deny anything. It was always her fault. And there is so much that was wrong with Calvin's testimony that he left out. And he's very good at seeing things his way. I wouldn't be here today if there wasn't a reason. I am not one to just do something like this. And the reason the sheriff was called in Arkansas, Calvin made a threat to my son. And what Jason did was went to talk with their women's shelter, because he knew how much I was walking on eggs, and I'm not giving him any rights at all. And he talked to the sheriff and just said, and the reason why the sheriff was called was because I know Calvin's anger, and I wanted somebody present to be there when I gave him the check for $1,000 to leave. And he just sat and he tore it up right in front of me. And so the reason I did not stay at the house was because of him. That's why, and I was gone one night. Also, what he has forgotten to say is I kicked Jason out of the house. And I said, you can't be here. And the vehicle that Calvin gave, at that time he gave it to Jason, he sounded sincere, but he has had a vendetta against him almost from the beginning. My son is now, by his own choice, living in a sober house in Oklahoma City. He's been sober for 5 months. That decision was made on his own.
Okay, again, Miss Morgan, you're getting way outside of what
Okay.
we're going to deal with today.
Okay, I'm sorry.
The issue today is whether or not Calvin Morgan threatened you.
Yes.
And if he did, what do you want the court to do?
I think by listening, I would like a permanent restraining order. Because I'm not going to keep going through this.
Anything else, Miss Morgan?
I'm just being honest.
Okay, Mr. Calvin Morgan, your closing argument.
Excuse me, my throat's dry. Your Honor, I have never threatened her, physical, mental, or anything. I've always wanted to sit down and talk about this. If the issues that have come up in our life are just what they are. Trying to work things through with her so we both can have a nice life. But I have never threatened her, will never ever threaten her. The issues that I've got was at the dog, both dogs, but never at her. I've never had an issue. The circumstance that I find myself into now is I have nothing at all. But there's never been a threat against her. Never. I've loved her. I've tried to help her. And by helping both of us, when I want time to, when things get too much, where she gets emotional, I have to give us time to sit and let things calm down and come back with a reasonable conversation with her. So we can discuss things, so we can find the issues that are troubling her. But I've always loved her, even with all this. But there is no harm from me ever coming that way. I've just tried to help us both, but when she gets emotional, it's hard to communicate with her on our best interest. But that's, as far as the protection order, that's all I have to say. There was never anything on my side. But I want us to be able to go through this and work it. If we can sit down, and if this marriage has to end, then so be it. But I don't want her going through anything. But at the same time, I don't want to be going through anything either. But I have one more day left where I'm at, and then I'm on the street because I no longer have any money. And all I ask is for the same right to live, is all. But that's, as far as protection order, Your Honor, that's all I got to say to it.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Calvin, you're testifying that you don't believe you made a threat, but when you're being angry towards the dog and jerking the dog around, and then if you tell her, if you interfere, it will not go well for you, that is a threat.
No.
Okay, that is a threat to her. So by preponderance of the evidence, the court finds that a threat has been made, which meets the definition under the protection for abuse, that you have made a threat to do harm. Okay,
Yes, Your Honor.
now, question is, what do we want to do about it? Now, Miss Connie Morgan, if you want, the court will issue the restraining order and order him not to be in your residence and not to be around you. Is that what you're wanting today?
I would like to say he wouldn't be in that hotel had he not lost it
Okay.
2 weeks ago. I just need
Miss
to.
Morgan, we're beyond that. Now we're at the.
Okay.
What do you want the court to order? Do you want the court to issue the restraining order and order Mr. Calvin Morgan not to be at your residence and not to be around you.
After today and listening to him not telling you all of the specifics of it, I do not want him around me.
Yeah.
This marriage, if he would have went for some counseling, because him not wanting, him wanting to work things out, it still is not attesting to his anger issues and his anxiety. I have and still go into counseling.
Do you want to attend counseling with Calvin Morgan?
I want him to have counseling by himself first, as I am doing.
Mr. Calvin Morgan, do you want to attend counseling?
I have no way of doing that, Your Honor. As of the 14th, I will no longer have a motel room or any place to stay. I'm not from Kansas. and
Your
I-
sister, you can go to your sister's.
Hang on, Miss Morgan. I'm speaking to Mr. Morgan at this time. Mr. Morgan. The court is going to issue the restraining order. The question is, do you want to engage in counseling and try to work on this relationship or not?
I would, yes, if I have an option. But I have no option at this time, Your Honor.
As far as the residence at 802 Madison, did you rent that, Mrs.?
Yes, it's in my name.
Okay. And is Mr. Calvin Morgan on the lease?
No, he is not.
Okay. Is there any property there that Mr. Calvin Morgan needs to obtain?
Just
Yeah,
clothes, birth certificate, things like that. And I will pay for him to have a flight to his sister's.
I cannot stay at my sister's. Her husband is dying. And she has no room for me. We've already discussed this with her.
Mr. Calvin Morgan, you'll need to contact the police so that they can do a standby as you retrieve your property. Okay?
Yes, Your Honor. I have no way of going down there to retrieve my property, Your Honor. Because I have no place to put it or nothing. I have no vehicle. Since I gave my vehicle to her son, I have nothing. I am, after Friday, I will be homeless. I have nothing.
Mrs. Connie Morgan, rather than buying him a plane ticket, can you pay for his motel room for the next 2 weeks?
How much will it be?
If we pay in cash, it's 300. But if you don't, it'll be 300 plus tax. And the lady is gone right now, but there is somebody that we can get a hold of to make arrangements for me to have that live right across from the M Motel.
Is that 300 for both weeks or?
No, 300 per week.
Per week.
Per week, yes, Your
That
Honor.
would be a total of $600 for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, it'd be about, with taxes and everything, it'd be 75, something like that, possibly.
Your Honor, I do want to add to this. Calvin, I gave him $100 when the sheriff came to the house with the restraining order. Plus, I also told him that he could withdraw $479. Both of those amounts equaled his Social Security. I did not just throw them out on his ear.
Okay, so Mr. Calvin, you still receive your Social Security.
It went in on the 3rd, yes, yes,
Okay.
Your Honor, into her bank.
Connie, the question I'm asking you is, you offered to buy him a plane ticket. Rather than buying a plane ticket, can you give him the $600 he needs for a motel for 2 weeks?
Yes,
Okay, you give him the $600 for the motel, and then Calvin, you're going to need to make arrangements thereafter. Okay,
Yes, Your Honor.
I might add that he already has a checking account set back up in his name and a different phone number. So I will not know how to do anything without communication.
I'm gonna order the plaintiff to pay spousal support of the defendant in the amount of $600 one time. And how is he to pick that up, Connie?
I can take it to the hotel.
Okay, and you can do that
Today.
today? By 5 p.m.?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, do that. This is not a divorce action. This is simply a protection from abuse. That's all that's been asked of the court.
Right.
Okay? Court is going to grant the protection from abuse order. That is granted to Connie Morgan. That is in place for 1 year through March 13, 2026.
Thank you.
Okay? I find that by a preponderance of the evidence that a threat was made, as testified to by Connie Morgan. Mr. Calvin Morgan, you need to understand that this order today will take the place of the temporary order. If you violate the order, if you contact her directly or indirectly, then you could be cited for interference or violation of this protection order, which is a crime under Kansas law.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, if you go on her property, you could be charged with trespassing.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so stay away from her property at 802 Madison in Plainville.
I'm here at
Don't have
stop.
any contact with her, direct or indirect.
Yes, Your Honor.
You're not allowed to assault her, threaten her, follow her, stalk her, abuse her in any way. You understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And you're not to be around her property.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. She is granted exclusive possession of the 802 Madison property in Plainville.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. You can recover your clothing and personal property. Use a police standby to make arrangements with the police for when you can go by and pick up your clothing and your property.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay? Connie, you're going to make a spousal support payment, one payment of $600. That one-time payment is by 5 p.m. tomorrow, or no, 5 p.m. today.
Yes,
And you'll drop that by at the motel he's staying at.
yes, Your Honor.
Okay. You'll give that to the clerk.
Yes, sir.
To
Great.
pay for his room for the next 2 weeks.
Yes.
Okay. This order is effective today, Mr. Morgan. A copy of this is going to be sent to dispatch, so they'll have it to enter NCIC.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay? If you violate the order, it can constitute not only violation of a protection order. We've already talked about if you threaten her, that would be an assault. If you go on her property, that could be a trespass. Okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
And also, if you violate this order, you can be held in contempt of court.
Yes,
Can punish you with jail and or a fine. You understand that?
yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Also, if you violate the order, the court can extend the order. Court can extend it for an additional year, or if it's a serious violation, the court can extend it to a lifetime restraining order. You understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Do you have a concealed carry license?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, because that can be affected by a protection from abuse order. And you don't carry any weapons, do you?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, because that can be a violation. If you're carrying a weapon anywhere near her property, you could be cited under both state and federal law.
Yes, Your Honor.
So don't be carrying weapons. You're also subject to some federal firearm restrictions for having a protection from abuse order against you. Do you have any firearms?
No, Your Honor, I do not possess any.
Okay, you'd be best not to for the next year.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Do you have any questions about the restraining order, Mr. Morgan?
No, Your Honor, not at this time.
Okay. Do you have any questions about the restraining order, Ms. Morgan?
No. Would it be okay if I did add a couple hundred extra for eating?
If you'd like to give him $800, that would be great.
Okay,
Okay,
I'm-
that tied
I'm
him,
not a cruel and mean person.
that'll tide him over till he can make arrangements to where his check gets deposited through Social Security.
Yes,
Okay,
yeah. He already has that set up.
okay. And again, I remind you, both of you have talked about divorce. This is not a divorce.
Right,
This is just a restraining order. You're still married.
right.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Any other questions?
No, Your Honor.
No,
Okay. Good luck to both of you.
You were the one that married us, but this breaks my heart.
Well, good luck to both of you and make sure you abide by the restraining order.
yes, Your Honor.
Okay? Thank you.
You're welcome.